All right, welcome back to Humans of Grappling, where we explore the intersection of grappling and everything else in life. Talk about grappling, applying it to everyday life and everyday life to grappling. We're here today with Jiu-Jitsu black belt out of 10th Planet Calgary, Brad Congram. He recently became a father and is a cat dad of two, just like myself. So we, we have that in common at least. I'm not a father yet, or in the near future at some point, but yeah. Brad, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Sweet. So, I guess how did you start jujitsu, and like where have you always been with 10th Planet? And I guess how has your journey been with
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu?
so this is like a really specific answer. So this is like back in 2010, I think.
Huh?
I was watching some Mirko Krokop highlights on YouTube back in university.
As one does in
Yeah,
2010. Yeah.
those were the prime days.
Right.
And it was like through that someone posted a link to a Sherdog thread,
Mm,
and it was kind of roaming around Sherdog for the first time. And
right.
someone had put up a YouTube link to Ryan Hall versus Hermes Franca at Grappler's
Okay.
Quest.
Nice.
And that's the match where he hits the crazy deep half to waiter to rolling back take transition.
Okay.
And
I
I
think
saw that having
yeah.
like no understanding of jiu-jitsu, no understanding of what was going on. And
Right.
I saw that move and was like, I got to know what this is.
Sure. Right.
It took me a couple of years because I was in a much smaller city at that point. It took me a couple of years to move back to Calgary and start.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been January of 2013, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent the next couple of years kind of bouncing around the country as I was kind of going through school, moving between jobs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eventually landed back here in Calgary back in 2016. I was training at a different school in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually one of the instructors there for quite some time. And then around 2022, my current coach, Corey Guitard, announced that he was moving from Montreal to Calgary and opening 10th Planet Calgary.
Nice.
And I was kind of like, sorry guys, like the world class dude shows up in town, you kind of got to do it.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. That's cool.
Yeah, so I've been there since it opened.
Sweet.
And I got my black belt back in December.
Awesome. Congrats. That's pretty recent then. So
yeah, it is. Actually, I have it right here. It's literally behind me as we're having this conversation.
There you go. Nice. Sweet. How does it feel like, since you're still fresh in the black belt, like, does it feel any different? Like,
It feels fake. So what I mean by that is like, there's this perpetual feeling when I do something dumb that like Corey's going to drop down from the ceiling and be like, you dummy, we got you good. You should have seen the look on your face.
Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like really cool on one hand because you're like, I finally hit this milestone. I finally achieved this goal I had so many years ago. But on the flip side, it's also like incredibly disappointing because you're like, oh, I'm still just a guy.
Yeah, right. Like, it doesn't bestow any magical powers on you or anything like that. You don't learn any secret techniques.
I've been checking around. Apparently, there's no secret techniques.
Uh-huh.
I tried to do magic. It didn't work.
Right. Damn. So you're saying there's nothing to look forward to? It's just...
I mean, the belt color is cooler.
Right.
You get to register in much harder divisions when you compete.
Right. Exactly. That's true. Yeah. And like, specifically like IBGF competitions, right? Like IBGF is the only one, or like other, I guess, are there any other like belt color specific things that you got?
So yeah, IBJJF would split by belt color, I think.
Versus like no-gi is like generally beginner, intermediate, advanced, and like like that they kind of lump those different belts together, and kind of doesn't really matter at a certain point. So yeah.
Does SJJIF split by belt color as well?
Probably. That sounds like, if they're a jiu-jitsu federation, I imagine they care about belt colors still. So
it is one of the defining features.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So cool. Well, I guess how's life like, being a black belt and like trying to balance that with like a job and being a dad and all that kind of stuff? How's that?
It is very challenging.
Yeah. Right.
So my son is just about 5 months old.
Wow.
He turns 5 months a week from now.
Dang.
And like the first month of him coming home, like don't even think about training. Like, very fresh babies are a lot of work.
Sure.
And since then, it's not so much that he is a like tremendous amount of work. It's more that
Hmm.
I come home from doing my real job,
Hmm.
and my wife is burned out because she's been with the kid all day, and
Right.
it just feels incredibly selfish to then turn around and say, "Hey, I'm going to go for 3 hours and do my hobby.
Yeah.
Hope you
Right.
enjoy spending time with the kid."
True.
The way I've been working around it in the past few weeks is I have become a morning class guy,
Oh, there you go.
which I
Nice.
never thought I was going to do.
Right.
But like, it's actually kind of great. Like, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you run the morning classes at Tempe, Las Vegas, don't you?
Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of, yeah. And I've been 6 a.m. for, yeah, like just training 6 a.m. for 6 years now. So yeah, welcome to the early morning.
It's kind of great. I wish someone
Yeah.
had told me sooner that
Yep.
like you get in, you get a couple rounds in,
Hmm.
you go to work, and then
Yep.
when you come home, like you're done.
Yeah.
The night is
Yeah.
yours.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It feels like a much more natural kind of like cycle of like you like kind of your peak cortisol, like you're awake first thing in the morning, you go get your workout in, you break a sweat, you go to work. Like the rest of the day could go to shit. Like you could have fires to put out at work, or you have to go whatever, take care of the kid, take the kid to the whatever doctor, whatever, do whatever errands, that kind of thing. And you got your jujitsu in for the day still. So
So my coworkers have been noticing since I started doing the morning classes that I
yeah.
show up at the office and I am in just the best mood. Like I am
Awesome.
barfing rainbows. I'm the
Right.
happiest man. And I'm
Yeah.
like, sorry, I guess I simulated murder this morning. I
There you
shouldn't
go.
make me this happy, but here we are.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Yeah, and that tends to be like the profile of the morning class is like just dudes who have jobs and families and other commitments then but we still want to get our jujitsu in. So like you said, the least selfish thing to do is we get up early for it and then do it kind of on our own time when
Yeah, exactly.
nobody really needs us or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, like I would I like to have the extra couple hours of sleep? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
But also, I went through this pretty long streak there where I was just managing like professional commitments, commitments at home, and I was only getting to train once or twice a week.
Hmm.
It wasn't fun. Like, I was not a very happy person during that stretch.
Sure.
So, like,
Yeah.
now I can hit 4 or 5 classes a week. I only have to go to one evening class to do it.
Hmm.
Like, I'm a much happier person.
Awesome. Sweet. And what do you do for work?
So, I work in institutional research
Okay.
at Mount Royal University. So, institutional research groups within post secondaries are kind of the groups that are responsible for, like, they do a lot of regulatory and other kind of reporting about the institution. They'll also tend to manage data requests inside the institution,
Hmm.
data governance for the institution.
Hmm.
And then they usually also oversee, like, kind of market research and surveys.
Okay.
So, it's like a weird little like in most organizations, if you didn't have this capability, you'd be going out and hiring a consultant to do
I
it.
see.
But we're kind of like
Gotcha.
an internal consultant group.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. Like you mentioned before, your Excel was like making your computer overheat earlier, so that makes
Yeah,
sense
that's my
now.
own personal project.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's funny. Cool. Okay, gotcha. So you're kind of would that be like data analytics or something like that, or I guess what kind of do you like processing of that data? I don't know. I'm a computer science guy and like software developer guy, so
So
we can get nerdy. We can get
we can
super.
get nerdy. Awesome.
We get yeah in the weeds.
Yeah, so I used to do most of my work working in R. And like we kind of built out our own package to use an Oracle DB connection to plug into our production database and pull
There
straight
you
to
go.
our R environment.
Nice.
So I was kind of like a one-man ETL process.
Okay.
The recent change of the past few months is that we've started to move away from me being the bottleneck for information needs across the institution.
Hmm.
We are now migrating to a Microsoft Fabric proper data warehouse
Hmm.
solution.
Gotcha.
So I have been learning how Spark works in order to actually do most of this.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's been my like big challenge recently is just the migration from an on-prem data setup to going to the cloud and trying to make it like more robust, more reproducible, and a lot more enabling a lot more self-service for end users.
Right.
That's a learning curve.
Nice. Oh yeah, definitely for sure. When you're kind of used to going and kicking boxes that are like down the hall in like whatever in a closet somewhere, or versus like I don't know like if you're in a data center somewhere telling somebody to hey can you just check on box whatever 3 and kick it versus like oh hey it's not, you guys are on Azure, I guess, like moving to Azure.
Yeah, so Azure is the kind of underlying data factory
Okay,
for Fabric.
gotcha. Cool. So yeah, like then now you're setting up like security groups and firewall, like all kinds of other shit that on prem you probably didn't have to worry about. So
Yeah,
cool.
when we were doing stuff on prem, like I knew what tables were supposed to look like because I had worked with them so much, and now I
Mm-hmm.
have to set up things like schema validation.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was a little bit of kind of like a learning curve for me because I was like, well, we're pulling from the same location using the same query. Like the schema shouldn't change. I should be getting
Mm-hmm.
the same thing every time. I don't know. Computers are weird. Sometimes you
Right.
don't. And so
Right.
you need to check for it.
That's my entire job. I do DevOps for my
Okay.
employer. So I can fully confirm computers are weird. And we cannot rely, like it's amazing that they do as much as they do
Okay.
reliably.
Like every once in a while, you get a reminder that computers are basically just rocks be bullied.
Yep.
And
I
they don't
fucking
like it.
I love that meme of like if you ever get like I forget the exact quote, but it's like it's rocks that we like smashed really small and we put lightning in it or something like that, and it's amazing. So
We abused them until they did our taxes.
exactly right. So okay, and so that sounds like like a common theme also across jujitsu is like we're a bunch of nerds. Seems
Oh
like
yeah.
we're like the people who do have jobs tend to be nerds. So I guess where do you see like the intersection of that? Like do you feel yourself like you're grappling with computer systems sometimes to get it to do what you wanted to do?
So I wouldn't say I have the experience of like trying to roll with a computer system to get to do
Right.
what I want to do. But what I
Yeah.
would say is that I have a much more well developed sense of how do you learn things for
Yeah.
having gone through kind of the jujitsu journey so far and
Sure.
still being in it.
Right.
Because like I think there's a lot of people have a tendency to say that like the way you learn something is you read the manual and then you do
Yeah.
what the manual says.
Right.
And like yeah, but it points you in the right direction, lets you know what functions exist. But a
Mm-hmm.
huge part of this, especially with programming, is like you have to get in there and you have to just try it.
Yep.
Right? Like you need
Yeah.
to mess around with it until it does the thing you want it to do, and then you need to go back and confirm: are you getting the answer you wanted to get because you did it correctly, or did you just kind of stumble blindly into the correct output?
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like that's a very like I see everything through an eco lens now since like two
Yeah,
years ago.
I've
So
listened
like
to this show before. I know you love your constraints.
right. Yeah. So like that's like the inherent process of learning is like hitting like I've called it hitting my head on the keyboard like since forever. And like you have to kind of iteratively try things out and see if they works. So it's yeah, that's thank you for confirming that I'm not crazy in terms of like that's the seems to be like a I don't know universal approach to learning at least or at least between at least we can say between software and jujitsu there seems to be a
Yeah,
connection
there
there.
does seem to be a pretty significant overlap. Like it's a little bit different in the grappling context because you just get your ass absolutely kicked. But with computers, it's like run, error, what if I change this? Run, error, but what if I change this? Run, error. How about now? Run. It works.
Yep, exactly. I
It's a little
mean
bit faster.
it's yeah and you don't like if you don't tap in time like there if you have it set up correctly, you have non-destructive like behaviors. Like whatever you run doesn't like destroy the system if you get it wrong or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
ideally,
Yeah.
you don't test stuff on production.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
actually have a fun story from grad school
Yeah.
where I effectively did test something on production. So I was learning how for loops worked because I was doing some stat analysis. So
Mm-hmm.
like my original background is I have a master's in economics,
Okay.
and I was at the University of Alberta, which is like up north from where I live,
Mm-hmm.
and it has one of the supercomputers for a Canadian university. There's like 15 of them in the country, and I was
Wow.
given permission to use one of them because I was working on a just truly massive set of survey data.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a for loop that couldn't actually finish,
No.
and I crashed the university supercomputer.
No.
So yeah,
Jeez.
little grad student Brad. That probably cost like a couple $1,000 just in like having to reboot the system and bring in text to make sure it wasn't broken.
Right. Yeah. And just you like spawned like spawn bombed, or is that like you yeah, basically yeah,
Yeah,
had an
it
infinite
devoured
infinite
all
loop.
the RAM.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, dang. I mean, you're not really a real software developer until you do something like that, like at least once. Like I feel like it's an initiation. It's kind of like you haven't really understood the lesson if you've like been told there's guardrails and then you've never tested the guardrails. Like you don't really actually learn the lesson. It feels like.
I was told the stove was hot, and I
Yeah.
didn't believe it, and then I
Right.
touched the stove.
Right.
I
Exactly.
was like, oh, that really hurts.
Right. It's funny. So what got you into like computers and programming and stats, or I mean going from economics to like stats analysis and R programming, like how'd you make that leap?
By accident, mostly. Yeah, so I came out of grad school,
Yeah.
and this is like a really common story for a lot of people, I think. I came out of
Mm-hmm.
grad school and I moved back into my parents' basement.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Sure.
was just looking around for like anything I could find in the city.
Yeah.
And as a summer job before, I had worked with the Ministry of Advanced Education here in
Mm-hmm.
Alberta.
Right.
So it's pretty similar to how the US is structured.
Mm-hmm.
Education is like a provincial responsibility, provinces are analogous to states.
Okay.
So I had worked on the government side of post-secondary education before,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that there was a university here in Calgary that was
Mm-hmm.
hiring. And it was supposed to be a 6-month contract. I was like, I need money.
Yeah.
I'll do the 6-month contract. I showed
Sure.
up, and they're like, oh, you know the language, you know what we're talking about because you've worked on the government side. We'd love to hire you to a 6-month contract.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an R shop, and I was like, I guess I'm learning how to use R now.
There you go.
And 6-month contract turned into a 1-year extension, turned into a full time,
Nice.
morphed into my job now.
Awesome.
I just managed to hit that sweet spot of like always being useful enough that they could
Right.
never get rid of me.
There you go. Yeah. No, and that, always saying yes and like being like, hey, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Like just kind of being.
Yeah, it's astonishing how many people like stumble into they see a tech stack for a group and they say, I don't know how to use this. I'm just not going to try.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you can remake the entire tech stack in what you prefer, or you can suck it up and you can learn what they're using.
Right.
Choice is yours.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's a weird, like limiting belief for a lot of at least junior developers. They're like, oh, I only know Python and whatever. It's something written in Ruby is like unreadable to me or what. Like some people like have weird things about that, but it's like you learn one programming language, it's much easier to pick up the second, third, fourth, fifth, however many you need to know to like glue everything together and make it work. So
yeah, because like you're really just learning representative logic, and after that, it's just you're picking a language to describe like what you want to do.
exactly. Yeah. Awesome. So I guess the economics part, like did you do a lot of like stat courses and things like that to like
Yeah,
math? Yeah.
I did a lot of math. I did a lot of algebra.
Yeah.
I do not remember most of it now.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, yeah, same. Like I did computer engineering, so it was like half electrical engineering and half like actual programming and computer science. And I don't remember the electrical engineering stuff at all. I just that I only know is that it's magic. It's magic all the way down. Like it's a miracle that all this stuff works in such a reliable and like fast way. Um yeah, I don't know.
I always think about like engineering in general is one of those things that like it's astonishing that we've made it as far as we have.
Right.
Like think about civil engineering, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And like, have you ever been on a bridge?
Yeah.
Like, you trust that bridge is not going to fall, right?
Yeah, don't fucking ruin this for me. Don't ruin bridges for me.
Yeah, like there's so much work and so much math that goes into just building a bridge.
Right. Yeah. And you have to like over engineer things. You have to be like, all right, we need to make this bridge 10x the amount of whatever downward weight, and then like it's windy, like my house is just blowing around because it's windy here in Las Vegas, and like I can feel the house shake. I'm like, I hope it holds up. I hope that whoever designed this like took that into account or whatever. So
yeah, and like I can imagine like whoever's doing the designing, like they're working out like, you know, what's the total number, what's the amount of stress this has to be able to withstand, and they go, okay, well, here's the mean. We're going to go like 3 or 4 standard deviations. over to the side. Like, we're going to such an extreme extent that this should never happen in any kind of sensible world.
Right.
But it works.
Yep.
Somehow we're all still alive.
Right. For the most part. Right.
For the most part.
Because there's black swan events. Like, I've read a couple Nicholas Taleb books, like kind of pseudo economist type of investor guy. But yeah, he shits on economists because of that exact
But we
like
deserve
assumption.
It. Yeah, we absolutely deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I am well versed enough in the field to, like, how do I say this? So, like, you start to get really good at noticing when people have just been, like, inside of their own bubble for way too long.
Yeah.
So you'll see, like, people will release papers where they're showing off, like, look at this incredible new model, and it accurately models this behavior in this data set. And I'm like, we haven't actually learned anything from this. Like, you showed off a lot of really cool math.
Yeah.
And that's great for you. I'm super happy for you, bro. But, like, this isn't actually useful.
Mm-hmm. Right. It doesn't extrapolate to something outside of the data set that you have already.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, you go through the paper and you see the list of assumptions and you're like, well, that assumption doesn't make sense in the real world. That assumption doesn't make sense. That assumption's useless.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, like, a real kind of, like, yeah, you know, some economists really love their field.
And just their field. Like, just
their field. Only their field.
Right. And not real life or whatever else. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because, yeah, like with jiu-jitsu, like we kind of have some amount of, like, objective reality. Like, we're faced with it every time we roll. It's like,
absolutely. And, like, even when we're rolling, like, I am the worst person in the world for, like, pulling De La Kiva, trying to get to the waiter position, trying to do cool spinny back takes. Like, I love that stuff. It's great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am under no illusions that if I tried to do that in a fight, I would get punched.
Right. Yeah. I mean, same. I love deep half. Like, that's I still feel like I could deep half anybody, even in an MMA fight. Like, even if there's punches raining down on me, like, I've done deep half enough to, like, sweep somebody. Like, I'll be able to get their hands down or something like that. And I don't know. Like, I have some, like, delusions of grandeur with that, but I probably wouldn't want to be there, like, as a first choice.
Yeah, like, you don't want to hang out there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's, like, kind of that with grappling and kind of objective, like, the rubber meets the road. The rubber has to meet the road for us in like a real way. Otherwise, we're just doing whatever karate, and we're katas, and, like, we're in this theoretical thing. We will theoretically do this and that counter reaction, whatever. But we have to
and
actually
I think that's
make
one of the things. Yeah, like, you have to make it work. Exactly. Like, I think that's one of the things that's really cool about jiu-jitsu is that there's no shortage of innovation.
Yeah.
But we get to see, like, pretty quickly, like, which are the innovations that are useful.
Mm-hmm.
So let's think about, like, ankle locks, for example. Sport's been around for, I don't know, like, mid-90s.
Yeah.
We'll call it mid-90s. So it's been around for 30 years. Ankle locks were seen as a pain compliance technique for, let's say 25 of those years. Then Mikey Musumeci rolls up, starts breaking feet. We're like, okay, but that's just the one guy. Mm-hmm. It's not, I'm sure it's not that reliable. And then Chris Wojcik shows up, and we're like, oh no, this is a thing now.
No, this is a heel hook. This is, like, not even like a straight ankle lock anymore. It's like you just change the angle of that foot, and holy shit, like, we need to really address that now. Surprise.
This is way worse.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's funny. So I guess, yeah, how do you take stuff from jiu-jitsu and apply it into your job? Or, like, like you said, learning, like, the process of, like, getting whatever beaten down, like, you run a line of code or you run the command, doesn't work, change it, iteration. Like, do you see anything else, like, that kind of crosses over into either your job or the rest of your life even?
Yeah, so one of the things that my group is responsible for is, like, the full office title is the Office of Institutional Research and Planning, and that and planning part is actually a pretty significant chunk of stuff. Mm-hmm. So stuff like strategic plans for the institution, we're pretty heavily involved with the development of those, as well as kind of saying, like, what are the measurables that we're going to use to assess this. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I have noticed through that process over the past decade is that, so, like, this kind of goes dovetail with the process of learning thing, but we grapplers have a different relationship with failure than most people.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is something that I have experienced, not just through strategic planning, but through a whole bunch of other processes, is there's a lot of people that get into the process of like, we need to set goals.
Mm-hmm.
And the first response is like, well, we can't set a goal that's too ambitious,
Right.
because then we won't do it.
Yep.
But we can't have a goal that's just completely useless, because then everyone's going to know we gave ourselves an easy goal. And it's this like whole back and forth thing, trying to find a sweet spot where people are comfortable enough to put pen onto paper. And I've just never really understood it.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect that a large part of it is just because I've gone through this process of like, I have something I want to get better at. Like, I know I'm bad at it. So I am going to go and try really hard for 3 months to get better at this. Like a butterfly guard, for example. I'm like you. I play deep half a ton.
Yeah.
I'm rocking that Craig Jones 2017 build, and I'm still finding ways to pull it off.
Right.
My butterfly guard is terrible.
I mean, your first introduction was Ryan Hall, so I could have only imagined that. Yeah, deep half was a specialty.
But yeah, like if I had a business card for Jiu-Jitsu, it would say Ryan Hall Nut Hugger. Like, I just love everything he puts out. But anyway, so I've gone through this process of like, my butterfly guard is bad. I want my butterfly guard to be better. So you have to kind of give yourself a target of like, when are you satisfied with this? When does it feel like you've improved it?
Right.
And then I just kind of go through this process of like, well, I tried for 3 months to get better at it. I'm still not better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of dealing with that, dealing with kind of like your personal sense of accountability for that. It's like, well, why did it not work? Do I not understand this? Am I doing this weird or doing this wrong? Mm-hmm. Competition's another thing where like, you can tell yourself the goal is I want to medal at this tournament. Well, the other people on the mat get a vote, right?
Right.
So like, you show up, you do your best, you maybe get the medal, maybe you don't. But there's this understanding that the important part of the process is all the work before it. And like after the fact, you can go back and you can examine and say like, maybe saying I would beat Gordon Ryan was too ambitious.
Yeah, right.
And that just seems to be a process that is pretty uncommon, or a lot of people just don't have a really good relationship with failure.
Yeah.
So when they try to kind of go through this process of like, well, I need to set a goal for myself, but I don't want to be accountable for it. It's like, no, you should be accountable for it. Yeah. It should be a goal that hurts if you don't succeed.
Right. And it's just, I think with the core, well, maybe it's different with government or like research institution, but like government, like I guess real work, like that goal is tied to money, tied to like your paycheck and your whatever career path and all that. And people want to like sandbag a little bit and be like, set a goal that's like achievable, but is vague enough to like where you can like achieve it in any way that you want.
Yeah, and I understand how the incentives are aligned to kind of encourage that sort of behavior. But like, you also then out of the same like people a couple months later is, well, but we don't think that this plan is ambitious enough.
Right.
It's like, you chose how ambitious it was.
Yeah.
This was you.
Right. For sure. And that's, and that's the weird, I don't know, kind of grounding thing, maybe like we're more down to earth, like you said, like we simulated murder first thing in the morning and we come into work and it's like, oh, work's easy, like I'm down to do whatever, like I'm down to like try and fail, and like I'm in this mood to like I don't know, this kind of drive to succeed type. Well, I mean, I'm sure you have like dad motivation now, like
well,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, like you're like, oh shit, I need to, that this kid needs to go to school. Well, I guess you guys have like free college or whatever up there, so maybe. Yeah.
So there's some terms and conditions on that. For most people, it won't be free, but it is significantly less expensive than the United States. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, still, like you probably have, from what I've heard, is that you get this extra like gear of like, oh shit, I need to like provide for my family and stuff. Like, when you get, yeah, like when
that hits crazy hard.
Yeah,
it is a real perspective shift that I don't think I was really prepared for. Is that like having these ideas in my head of like, oh, it would be cool to, I don't know, go run the Tokyo Marathon or something. And it's like, oh, but that involves, so like either I need to leave my wife with the kid for so many days so I can go to Tokyo, so I can run for a long time, or we all need to come and I have the kid on the plane and it's going to cost this much money. Like,
Right.
it's just a sudden perspective shift that I wasn't adequately prepared for.
Yeah.
I don't think anything could have actually prepared me for it.
Sure. Right. Yeah, it seems to be like I have a bunch of like dad friends, and they keep saying, oh, like you'll see when you have a kid. I'm like, I'm kind of aware, like I kind of see the bounds of like what everybody's talking about, and like how their lives are, yeah, way different. But like that, I've a to like put it in eco terms, I have knowledge about, but not knowledge of. I don't have knowledge of yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those, fatherhood so far has been a very interesting experience.
Yeah.
In part because like you get told in advance, like, by the way, watch out, these things are going to happen, and you're
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I logically understand that these things are going to happen, but then you
Yeah.
actually experience it, and you're like,
Right.
oh, I've slept 3 hours in the last 2 days. Like,
Shit.
this is rough.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, so my coach Corey,
Yeah.
he told me this because he's got two kids of his own.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, try to savor this first month in these early days. Like, you're going to miss it when it's gone. And at the time, I'm super sleep deprived.
Right.
I have this little alien that's screaming at me. I'm like, how am I ever going to miss this? What do you mean savor this? And now that I'm a couple of months out from that, I'm like, son of a bitch, he was right. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of great.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're totally like enamored with this new person that just appeared like seemingly out of nowhere and just completely, yeah, upended your life. So yeah, that's interesting. So I guess how do you see that on like I mean, now that you've experienced it, like, and you have a background in economics, like, how do you see this? Do you see this like have better context for like how the economy works overall now? Like now that like there's a bunch of people having the same experience that you are, that kind of runs the world.
Well, so there's a couple of things I've kind of taken away from it.
Yeah.
So one is this joke I say a lot, which is like, I was told so much as a child that as you get older, you will get more conservative and you'll turn right more.
Yeah.
But as I get older and older, I keep turning left, baby.
Yeah.
Like on a NASCAR track.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things before that, like, hey, how come affordable childcare isn't a thing? I never cared about that before.
Sure.
And
Right.
now I'm like, hang on, that seems really important. We
Yeah.
should do that. The other thing I'm like super acutely aware of is like how much baby stuff there is to buy. And
Yeah.
I am just so like, within economics as a specific subdiscipline, I was a healthcare economist.
Okay.
That was my thing.
Yeah.
So I see all this baby stuff that's advertised as like, it's, natural, fragrance free, whatever soap for your baby. And I'm like, does it actually matter? Like, I'm paying the 20% upcharge to get the special baby soap.
The natural kind. Yeah.
Does it actually do anything?
Sure. Yeah.
I get 1,000 kids. I double blind them. One has the fancy soap. One has just Dove.
Yeah.
Is there actually a benefit?
Right.
Is it worth the premium? So I've gotten like pretty, I don't say cynical, but I'm certainly, I question a lot of stuff that gets advertised to me now as to like, is this actually that important?
Right. Because they're pulling at your heartstrings. You're literal like for parents, like, I want to provide the best thing for my child. So paying more feels good to give my child the best thing.
It's just this idea that like nothing is too good for your child, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like, you want to have the best possible formula. You want to have the comfiest diapers.
Yeah.
And like, we're buying formula from Costco. We're getting diapers from Costco.
Yeah.
But like, it's a volume purchase. I don't need the fancy one. He will go through it quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like, yeah, it's not it's a cost benefit of like, this isn't gonna like, I don't know, doing the cheaping out on diet, not cheaping out, but like whatever. Costco diapers,
No, I know what you mean.
I'm sure like it's not gonna like traumatize him. He's not gonna be like, oh my God, I wore Costco diapers versus like whatever the premium brand is. I have no idea.
One of the things I say all the time is he doesn't have memories yet.
Sure. Right.
So like, if there is ever a time to be like, oh, we're getting some hand-me-downs from some friends that had kids, like, it's now.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Right. Yeah.
His big fascination is the ceiling fan.
Right. Yeah. He just got here. He has no context. So
yeah, exactly. He has no context. As far as he knows, there's like 20 people in the world.
Right. It's funny. Yeah, that's interesting. That, I guess that's the one of the things I've heard is that there's just two kinds of people in the world. There's parents and everybody else, like the people who have a child and who are in like literally invested in this like future beyond like their lifetime, and then people who are kind of like currently childless or planning on being childless, and kind of like living for the now, and like kind of like they're either, I don't know, in that kind of floats up to like policy decisions and like political leanings and whatnot. So I'm just curious, like, do you see that? I mean, your healthcare economics or whatever angle you want to take on this, it's like, do you see this as a, like, you see that kind of play out for you as well?
So do you want the really cynical take, or do you want the like, optimistic take?
I mean, we're
So
on a
we can go
podcast.
either way, baby.
We're on a podcast, so we've got time for both. Like, give me bad news first. Bad news first. And
Okay.
then,
So cynical take.
yeah.
One of the things about having children is that it wildly limits my ability to engage in political participation.
Yeah.
So the consequences for there being some kind of blowback for anything I do that's politically motivated are now significantly higher.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I have to confront the reality that like I can't go and run my mouth and get fired from my job for running my mouth, because now I have to come home and tell my wife, sorry, honey, we have a newborn and I can't guarantee we can pay the mortgage.
Right.
So that's different. Like I can't go off to a protest where I'm possibly going to get hit with a sandbag and lose so many hours of whatever, because like I need to be able to come home and help with the family.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, like, so the last time I competed was back in August.
Mm-hmm.
It went very bad. It was my first competition in 5 years.
Yeah.
20 seconds, ankle locked, ankle exploded.
Oh, no.
Like the worst possible outcome.
Right.
But the part that like really got me was that my wife was 7 months pregnant at that time.
Uh-huh.
So I had to drive home and be like, hey, very pregnant wife, I can't really walk right now.
Yeah.
Can you take care of me?
Shit.
Right. Like, and that's,
yeah.
It would be so much worse now.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you can't take care of me because we have a tiny human being who needs constant attention.
Yeah.
So the really cynical take here is I think there are a lot of people who are incredibly concerned about the birth rate in developed economies.
Yeah.
In part because people with kids are limited to the extent to which they can engage in political action.
Right. Yeah. They have something to lose, like, versus college kids. Like what's the worst that'll happen?
They're young. They got their whole lives ahead of them.
Yeah, exactly. They have nothing to lose. They can get kicked out of their college and it'll probably be okay for them. They'll just go to a different one or whatever. And yeah, they've got more chances to screw up versus, like now, like life is real. And
we're playing with live ammo now.
Right. And you have to, there's a lot of responsibility and you have to be more conservative in terms of risk taking, I guess, is like it like political speaking, whatever. It's like that can, you can go either way in terms of like what you think about things, but like risk taking of like, oh, you have to, not like you have to tap earlier or whatever, right? Like, you have to be super
and like
careful.
Risk taking in many ways, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, so it would be really cool to, leave my job and go work at someone who's just starting up a business, right? Like that's notionally sounds like a cool thing to do, but significantly more dangerous now.
Yep.
Just because I have a small child I need to take care of,
sure,
right? Who is dependent on my ability to bring home an income.
Yep.
So just kind of like professionally, the risks that are available are significantly reduced.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So just things like that I'm very aware of them now.
Right.
On the flip side, though, and this is definitely like a regional thing, and there's some like cultural baggage baked into this.
Mm-hmm.
I have been so impressed and so pleasantly surprised by the resources made available to parents here in Alberta.
Yeah.
And so like I have this card here, right? Mm-hmm. It's sitting next to my desk. It's got a collection of QR codes and phone numbers on it. This was provided to us right after our son was born. Mm-hmm. And it's just got a whole bunch of stuff about like, what are the developmental milestones you care about at these months? Like, what are the things you need to know about baby sleep? What are their language milestones? Here's a helpline if you need help with postpartum depression. If you have questions about your baby doing this, like call this number. So this was provided to us amongst a literal like folder, maybe about supposed to be audio, so you can't see me doing the gesture with my hand.
Yeah.
But let's say like half an inch thick of just things like that. Like here are the speech language development milestones you should care about. Mm-hmm. Here's who you call if you have an issue. Just that sort of stuff. Apparently, we also get like a federal tax credit for having a kid to help offset the cost of baby stuff.
Wow.
So like I have been very pleasantly surprised to see that the federal government here, the provincial government here have both kind of recognized like, hey, this is a really hard thing to do and people need some guidance. They need some help.
Right.
We should pass that along in as non-judgmental of a fashion as possible.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's cool that at least regionally, you guys up north have some things figured out that I can't say like how many resources are available like that down here, like, because I don't know, like I'm not
I certainly don't know either.
Yeah,
I don't know, really don't know anything about the state of Nevada.
Sure, right, exactly.
Been to Vegas once. That's all I got.
Yeah, you lose money down here?
I did not.
You did not.
Thankfully, gambling is not one of my vices.
Okay. Yeah.
But I did. So I went to Vegas back in like 2017, 2018. And it was right after I had done a tournament, which you'll notice this will be a theme through what I say. Did a tournament, lost really badly. And I had cut all the way down to featherweight for that tournament. And I'm like 6 feet tall. So that was a rough cut.
Right. Yeah.
And I spent 4 or 5 days in Vegas. And I'm not kidding. I drank like 4 or 5 milkshakes every single day I was there. Like a truly disgusting amount of calories. I left when I arrived in Vegas, I had abs. When I came back, I did not.
I am disgusted by the number of milkshakes. Like I can only do one. Like that's
like they're so thick.
Were they like the milkshakes? Like were you staying on the strip? Like
I was on the strip. Yeah,
you're on the strip.
Some of them were boozy.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That I mean, having a good time. Whatever floats your boat. Vegas has got you. So
yeah, like I remember vividly sitting in a Cirque du Soleil show, watching these like acrobatic performers, doing incredible stuff, and thinking like, oh man, that looks so cool. I should go to the gym and then just slurping on my 1,200 calorie Oreo milkshake.
Right. There you go. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's like, it's a weird, I mean, it's sort of like a NFL, like guy on the couch, like eating Doritos, and it's like, he should have thrown the ball to whatever. And it's like, no, like if you're not in the game, you can't like actually say what you would do or whatever. So
so this is actually something I find incredibly annoying is when people like don't understand how good professional athletes are. It's not, and like we experience this.
Yeah.
Because one of the really, really cool things about jiu-jitsu is that you can actually go roll with the people who are at the absolute best in the world, right?
Exactly.
Or like, not even talking about people who are winning ADCC, like people who do very well at ADCC trials, like yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you.
They're very, very good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I always enjoy that.
Yeah, it's crazy to like I sometimes forget, like, and I don't know. So like Andy Varela runs the night class, and I'm just like, it's Andy. Like I just whatever. It's like I just take him for granted, but it's like, oh, it's Andy. Like people come in town and want to train with him. It's like, oh, it's Andy Varela. He's like famous or whatever. And I'm like,
people watch him.
Yeah, people people like tune in to specifically watch him like compete, and he's very exciting. So it's just interesting to have that different perspective, and like and just knowing, oh yeah, I could go in any open mat or any night class if I wanted to, and like go train with him. Like that's just a thing that I probably don't take advantage of enough, and I probably don't fully appreciate it until he like goes and I don't know, moves on or whatever. And I'm gonna be like, damn, like I could have trained with one of the best guys in the world like every day if I really wanted to. But I don't know.
I remember this time like 2 years ago. It was like 2022, I think.
Yeah.
Corey had kicked my ass pretty badly, like recently. Yeah. And I was like kind of feeling down on myself. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be a brown belt. What am I doing? Like
Yeah.
Corey just wrecked me so bad. And then Oliver Taza was in town for a seminar, and I watched those two roll.
Yeah.
And it was very much like back and forth. No one really got a really good advantage. And that's when it kind of clicked for me. And I was like, oh, he's that good.
Yeah, like that level of like yeah,
he should be kicking my ass.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's good to have that. I have this pet theory of like you need some kind of like absolute anchor of like an anchor to who the best people in the world. And like sounds like your coach is one of those guys who like kind
He's
of
fantastic.
who like sets the bar, and he can go and compete in all the big tournaments and be competitive. He belongs out there. Versus like if you're just kind of in a little gym in the middle of nowhere and your best guy is like a brown or black belt but doesn't really compete, like you don't really know where you're at on like an absolute basis. Like you can within the gym you kind of know relatively like who's who, and like you know who beats who and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have like a tie-in to like, okay, where are we at like compared to everybody else, compared to the rest of the world,
compared to the real pointy end of the steer, or like where am I landing on this? And I think that's one of the weird things about like the black belt is that I am somehow at the same belt rank as Rafa Mendes.
Right.
Like that doesn't seem correct.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm a dude who works in like basically IT.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Right.
And yeah, so I have a good friend of mine who moved to New York a couple of years ago. He was like my main training partner for years, and he started training at Marcelo Garcia's. So as I'm sure you've heard, like Marcelo has moved to Hawaii, and Mateus Diniz is now the instructor there. And he regularly sends me just like crazy stories of how badly Mateus is beating him. And I'm like,
I've trained with Mateus. Yeah. Like I took a private for my buddy, had a wedding out there, and for his bachelor party, we took a private with Mateus Diniz, and he just destroyed us. Just absolutely like he smothered me with his shoulder 3 times in a row. I was just,
God.
Yeah, no,
no.
Yeah. My mind was expanded with how possible it was to get your ass kicked. So, yeah.
So like this guy will message me sometimes and he'll tell me like what horrible thing Mateus did to him this week. Right. And he'll be like, hey, remember when we thought we were good? It's like, oh yeah, we were so young and we were so wrong.
Yeah, right. You get your blue belt and you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to take on the world. And it's like,
oh man, let's talk about that for a second.
Right.
So I saw this, I forget, maybe in your podcast, it's like, no one knows more than blue belts on Instagram.
Yeah, I just posted that today.
Yeah, you just posted that. Yeah, and that really spoke to me because I was absolutely that blue belt.
Yeah, same.
Like, I was so certain.
It's the like that peak of like whatever overconfidence, Dunning-Kruger effect or whatever. Like you know
right before the drop.
Yeah, right before the depths of despair or whatever. It's you think you know everything by that time.
Yeah, you learn really fast that you don't.
Yeah, like you're
like, the really high belts, like the brown belts, they were being nice to me this whole time.
Right? Yeah.
Wow. Why did my wrist hurt from being wrist locked so much?
That was like the first roll that I got with one of my upper belt friends. Like they just put the blue belt on me. They were like, all right, let's all roll. He like instantly slaps a wrist lock on me. I'm like, what the heck? That was there all along.
Why have you been doing this the whole time? It's illegal. Oh my God.
Yeah. But like back in the day, like that was more of a thing. And maybe at gi schools, that's more of a thing. But like I heel hook my white belts. Like I do all the dirty shit to them because it's like I'm showing them what's possible, and like that's inoculating them for future, like somebody else who isn't as nice as me might put them in that same situation. Hopefully they have like some modicum of defense or some at least awareness that, oh, hey, this is a bad position to be in.
Yeah, so I had a moment like this, I think it was last week actually in a morning class where I was rolling with someone, he's pretty new to heel hooks. And like we ended up in 50-50. I got his foot off the ground, caught the heel, and he didn't realize he was in danger, right?
Yeah.
So I'm holding the heel and I look over at the guy who's teaching the class and I'm like, what do I do here?
Right.
He doesn't Like, what do you want me to do? And then just that interaction is enough for this guy to realize, like, oh, I'm in a super dangerous spot right now.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I would much rather that he goes through that interaction
Yep.
with me,
Yep.
where it's like, here's someone who's going to catch the heel and he's not going to break your shit.
Yep.
And you're going to have a learning moment as you realize, like, there was a danger out there I wasn't aware of.
Yep.
And you're going to, like, that's going to stick with you. As opposed to the alternative, which is rolls with, I don't know, insert your belt of choice here, probably white belt.
Right.
They're like, I'm going to finish this, and the instructor is going to be so proud of me. I'm going to get my blue belt right there.
No, or even the like a blue belt is like, oh, I'm gonna get a purple belt or something like I feel like the more you know, the more, like a little bit like the more dangerous you are. Like there's I don't know, the blue belt is like you're more prideful, like you have something to prove, and maybe that white belt was giving you the business earlier, and now you catch something, it's like, all right, I'm gonna show you who's boss or whatever. And
and I think when you're in, I don't know, blue belt especially, you just don't realize how much farther you have to go.
I think I recognized that right away. I was like, oh shit, like this is because I felt like I had like an addiction for a year because I wrestled in high school and I like was addicted, like straight addicted. I was like, I competed a bunch at white belt, like 30 matches or something. And I was like, I did this much work and I only got this like this far. I only got like
20%.
I'm only 20% of the way there. And I've like dedicated a lot of my like college life around this. I mean, in addition to like, classes and stuff, but it's like, I'm like, holy shit, this is a big like commitment or whatever. So, but yeah, it's longer than you think, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't end.
It doesn't end. Like here you are. You're at the end of the rainbow, and
there was no pot of gold.
There's no.
I was misled.
Right. Cool. Sweet, man. Yeah. Thanks for jumping on and kind of throwing your hat in the ring for this. I think this is kind of like a great example of what I feel like the podcast can be, is like jumping around between all these different topics, and like we're whole ass people, and Jiu-Jitsu podcast just focus on like the slice of Jiu-Jitsu and just going really deep on Jiu-Jitsu, but like kind of jumping around and like applying, I don't know, Jiu-Jitsu principles or that Jiu-Jitsu lens to different things is.
Yeah. I think with any, so one of the things that's really great about the sport is that like, it's really hard. Right. Yeah. And I think one of the things that can happen quite a bit is people have this assumption that because you've been doing something that's very hard for a long time, that itself is sufficient for like development of character or like some sense of moral superiority. And like, that's not true.
No.
The process of sticking with something that's very hard is like, it's good for you. It can be very healthy for you, but it's like necessary, but not sufficient.
Yep.
And one of the things that your podcast does, which I think is fantastic, is that invariably, this is probably across like all sports, like the people at the really bleeding edge of the sport will almost always be low-key psychopaths, because you just need to be so crazy to decide like, this is what I'm going to do for 40 hours a week.
Yeah. And have no other whatever outside interests, or like they're dedicating their entire lives, and kind of versus like, I don't know, DeAndre Corby, he's still an engineer, like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And he's #1 lightweight in the world or whatever right now. So, or minus 66, whatever division he's in, he's like one of the top guys, and he's doing this quote unquote part-time. So
yeah, this is his side hustle.
Yeah, right. just make 100K on a weekend. Just
some people Uber.
Yeah,
DeAndre Corbet is one of the top 66 grapplers in the world.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I think there's something to like, being a whole person and understanding that you're like what people, I mean, during the pandemic and whatnot, people are like, oh, I'm a black belt in this, so therefore I'm a virologist, or therefore I'm a whatever. Like I'm an expert on global politics. I'm an expert, like, it's like, no, it doesn't transfer like that.
Yeah, it's not quite how it works. And like, I spend a lot of my time just like reading about shit. Like I've been reading for the past year, I've been reading a lot of like exercise physiology textbooks, just because I was like, I'm curious about this. Let's see what's in there.
Yeah.
And at no point have I ever been like, well, I read an intro to kinesiology textbook. I'm going to go on the internet and I'm going to start arguing with people.
Right.
Like, that's
And
just
just
not how it works.
right. No. And I think everyone, like, yes, it you understand the path to learning, you understand kind of the path to mastery, but you spent 10 years in, like, I'm talking to arbitrary black belt who's whatever, just a black belt versus black belt plus profession. Like you're either like your only specialty is in jiu-jitsu, or you do jiu-jitsu and something else, and you have kind of a parallel understanding of like being a master at something, at like two things or multiple things, like having a well-rounded life versus just having kind of a narrow focus of, yeah, I do jiu-jitsu and this is whatever the sole thing that I'm pursuing or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, it's good that there are really good examples out there, like
Mm-hmm.
in the kind of the broader jiu-jitsu community, of people who, like, they're functional human beings,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like they have a job, they got married,
Yeah.
they have a kid. I'm not
Yeah.
referring, I realize I'm naming off the milestones I've personally hit. I'm not
Sure.
referring to myself as I
Yeah.
say
Right.
this,
Sure. No.
but like every gym, like basically in, I don't know, the world at this point, like there's going to be so many people on the mat who are great examples of this, of like,
Mm.
you know, they're a whole person
Yep.
off the mats,
Yep.
but also this is a thing they do. And I'm not going to say that it's not important to them and it's
Mm-hmm.
not like very relevant to them and they aren't getting some value outside of the mats from
Mm-hmm.
it. But like, it's really tempting, especially in those early years, to make this your entire personality. And like, for those of us that have been doing it for a long time, that's,
That was me in
yeah.
college. I was
Oh,
the
yeah.
jiu-jitsu guy in college. Yeah.
I totally did the same thing, like
Yeah.
first 4 or 5 years. And I now understand that for the upper belts that I was around at the time, that was annoying as shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, I must have been incredibly irritating to be around.
Mm.
But also, like, unless you are actually going to follow through and take on the insane amount of work it is to make this your 9 to 5, and to actually try to be professional in this,
Yeah.
it's probably good for you to become a well-rounded person off the mats as well.
Yeah. For sure.
Otherwise, you just kind of go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like your economists friends, where they're so insulated and they're like, oh, look at how I can strangle somebody, this new creative way I can strangle somebody. It's like, okay, cool, that worked in your little bubble or whatever,
Yeah,
but
but sir,
okay,
this is a Wendy's.
sir, this is Wendy's. How's that going to pay your rent this month?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, thanks, Brad. Appreciate you coming on. Do you want to plug anything, or I don't know, anything to shout out?
I don't have anything to plug. I
Yeah.
would just recommend that. Our gym and our coach is the same account on Instagram. I would recommend
Okay.
people follow 10th Planet Calgary.
Okay.
He uploads a lot of like clips from lessons that he's teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to say there's like you're going to see something that's going to completely blow your mind and change your perspective on stuff. But he does consistently drop little pieces of wisdom where I listen to it and I think, oh yeah, that's better than how I was thinking about this before.
Nice.
So it's just these nice little nuggets to help you move along.
Sweet. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll give him a follow. I don't know why I don't know. I should be following the different 10th Planet accounts just to kind of be more
I
embedded in
don't.
the system, but yeah. Yeah, sounds good. I'll give him a follow. All right. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you.